Welcome to our podcast, C3 Crystals, Cauldrons, and Cocktails. I'm River.
And I'm Wren.
And today we're going to be talking about what type of witch you are. But first, there's that breath again.
Yeah.
But first, what kind of cocktail are you drinking today?
I am drinking a Brut champagne, and I want to say this is the first episode I am drinking an alcoholic beverage, so yay me. I finally, 3 weeks later, have found myself to drink something during the day.
What does that say about me, since I have had something to drink at every one of these episodes?
Oh, no. Trust me, I would have been drinking if I had the goods to drink. I just went to the store today and was able to pick myself something up. And it's a cute little bottle of Cook's champagne, California Champagne Brut.
Oh, fun.
Yes,
Very
I'm
nice.
excited.
Yeah, I'm drinking the Brut Rosé, which is mostly my thing. I love the carbonated drinks for some reason.
Yeah.
But I really needed it today because I'm having a reaction to, I got my second COVID shot this week, and I'm having a reaction. I've got this horrible headache. And so I'm kind of hoping this wine will take the edge off.
Oh, definitely.
So what did you find out when you started doing your research about the types of witches?
I found that there's not a lot of reliable sources out there. So when it came to researching, I tried a couple books, but I felt like it wasn't enough. And so I found a website that I'm happy with. And I know that it's not all the types of witches that are out there. There's definitely so much more, and definitely more that I've even heard of outside.
I found a website that said there was like 86 types of witches. And I was like, what?
Really? I found a couple, and these are the ones that I found really, really interesting. And it goes across not just like witchcraft, it dips into Wicca and other types. And so I'm really excited because I'm covering a lot more than the books that I was reading and everything like that.
Yeah, mine's not very well organized because I got mine from a whole bunch of different places.
I got mine.
Yeah, where did you said you had a book?
No, not a book. I decided not to go with the book.
A website.
A website. It's called medium.com/witchology magazine. And I feel like when I was reading it and how other people have commented and reacted with it, I felt it was very good, like a good source. And I do know that not everything is covered in this.
Okay. I went through several different sources, but the main thing that I used is an actual book that I bought recently. I've been buying a lot of books recently. This one's called The Modern Guide to Witchcraft, Your Complete Guide to Witches, Covens, and Spells by Skye Alexander.
Okay.
And it has a whole section on different types of witchcraft and magic. And I feel like types of magic is a different thing than types of witches.
Like, I think so. Yeah.
You have sex magic, but you're not necessarily a sex witch, which I suppose if that's the main way that you practice, then that might be what you would call yourself. But anyway, and so I kind of touch on all of those things. And then I found some different websites. One was www.learnreligions.com. I have only had 2 sips, y'all. Okay. And then I know there were other ones, but that's the only one that I've got printed out in front of me. So that must be the one that I decided to go with.
Okay. Before we start talking about this topic, though, I do have a couple disclaimers that I feel like I should throw in there.
We should probably do that a lot because we go down all kinds of rabbit holes.
Yes. The disclaimer in this episode, I feel like witchcraft has been a trend. It's kind of trending right now.
Yeah.
And the labels are more of the aesthetics rather than like what we are. So I do say I identify as like a hedge witch, garden witch, moon witch. But those are just labels. You definitely do not have to label yourself anything. And if you feel like you don't fit in any of these categories, definitely do not worry. We are just kind of generally discussing what types of witches, like meaning what you're interested in and what you're not interested in and what you could fall under. That doesn't mean that you have to have a specific type that you're like, oh yes, definitely, I'm a earth witch, I'm a fire witch. I think that's very important before diving into this and feeling like you have to meet certain expectations, because not every definition of each witch is always going to be the same. It's what you make it. It's how you feel. So I say I'm like 4 different types because some pieces of one witch doesn't match me, but other parts do. So I feel like that's okay.
Yeah, I think in our trailer for this one, we talked about how I felt like I'm a mutt. But I mean, I think that that's going to be the same for everybody. There are these, let's not try to fit a square peg into a round hole, where witches by definition are not generally conformists. We are generally kind of out there. And so, it's just kind of fun to talk about these different types of witches. And y'all, to do this episode, I took about 50 different witch quizzes. And I mean, some of them are absolutely silly and some of them were kind of fun. And most of them I could say, parts of these things apply to me. So it's going to be interesting to hear what you have come up with. Tell me what you started with.
So I've started with the Alexandrian Wicca.
I came across that too, but I don't think I printed it out. So go ahead. Oh, I did. So go ahead and tell me.
It's influenced by Gardner and his tradition. And Alexandrian Wiccas use a degree system and has ties to ceremonial magic systems. And in this tradition, they focus on the polarity between the genders and rites and ceremonies often dedicated to equal time of the god and goddesses.
Yeah, what I found is that it is huge to trace your lineage back through an unbroken line of witches, which I don't have the luxury of knowing my lineage all the way back to know whether I've come from, especially since a lot of witches never come out. So we could have witches in both of everybody could have witches in their ancestry that no one knows about. But the Gardnerian or Alexandrian Wiccan usually can trace their lineage back through an unbroken line. And they're not all Wiccans, but they are very bound to traditions. Generally, this type of witch is, and they have to keep their knowledge secret. And it does go back to Gerald Gardner, who was the founder of the modern Wiccan religion around the 1950s, which I thought was interesting. And then in the 1960s, Alexandrian Wicca is a blend of ceremonial magic and heavy Gardnerian influences.
Yeah, that's all that I had on mine.
Yeah, it wasn't something that resonated with me, so I don't know much about that one. And you guys, if any of you are any of these types of witches, feel free to correct us or say, that's generally not correct, or that is correct, or you were right on point. And we'll be glad to pass that on and be proud that we got something right. And, but yeah, I mean, so all of these different types are going to resonate with different people, and some may not even be on the stuff we talk about. What do you have next?
Ceremonial, and that can be either a Wiccan or witch, and the rituals are often held in high esteem in ceremonial practice. They often have a book of shadows handy, or they might also draw on many of today's Wiccan covens that can be traced back to their origins, and that also goes to the Alexandrian Wiccan path itself remaining oath bound, like they sign an oath. Yeah,
to me, I think the most not important, that's not the right word, there is a word, the most dominating factor, I guess, about a ceremonial witch is that they do ceremonial magic. It's considered high magic. It is just like you see in the movies. It is ceremony plays a huge part in bringing that power and using the energies or the vibes or whatever you want to call magic ceremony is how you get there.
I also have, they share their knowledge, like they draw their knowledge of scientific approaches, such as sacred, like mathematics and quantum I can't say it. Mysticism.
It's because you haven't had enough to drink yet.
I know. Mysticism.
Give her time, y'all. This is going to get better.
Right. And they also may use a combination of disciplines drawn from the old ways, which is kind of...
Yeah, I agree. It says that they use specific rituals and invocations to call upon the spirit world. It uses as its base a blend of the older occult teachings like Thelema, which I don't know what that is, Enochian magic, and the Kabbalah. It said that even many people who practice ceremonial witchcraft don't even identify with the word witch at all, which that's another thing. My husband, he asked me, because we were listening to our podcast to see how it sounded. And he's like, where did the word witch come from anyway? What is this word? And somewhere in here, in these notes that I have, I will tell you the answer to that question because I found it.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah. So interesting. But yeah, apparently ceremonial witches do not identify, well, some do not identify with the word witch at all. And to me, I am not super structured, but I do see how a ceremony and a ritual could definitely increase the power of your spell or the power of your magic.
Yeah.
And so I think that there is a place for ceremony, but I wouldn't call myself a ceremonial witch.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Because I have cottage witch, which is really, did you get that? Which is... I've been waiting to make that joke and I've had plenty of opportunities, but I've just never done it. So
not enough to drink. So go ahead.
Okay.
What is a cottage witch? I don't have that one.
A cottage witch is a variation of kitchen witches. This path focuses on the home, similar to a kitchen witch, but with less of a focus on food and more of a focus on home and garden. Magic can be included in like cleaning, crafts, hobbies, indoor, outdoor, and even foraging, which
I came across. I mean, when some of the quizzes that I took said I was a cottage witch.
Yeah, reading it and now like thinking about it, it kind of resonates with me because I love being at home. I don't get out of the house that often. I love cleaning. I love crafts. I love my garden on my deck.
I don't love cleaning, but I do love the crafts, and I do love my tomato plants that are out on the deck. We've got lettuce and maybe cottage witch. I don't know. Maybe. I don't have any information on that one.
Okay. So the next one I have is Dianic Wicca.
I came across that one, but I couldn't say the word, so I didn't look at it. So you're going to have to tell me.
I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Not sure. Dianic Wicca is the most feminist of all Wiccan movements. The tradition of Diana focuses primarily on the worship of the goddess.
The moon goddess.
I do not know which goddess.
She is the hunter, the moon hunter, the moon and hunter. I swear Diana is the goddess of the hunt. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, correct us if we're wrong.
I may be totally wrong.
Let us know. Dianic has been embraced by many women trying to find an alternative to obsessive patriarchal religion. There are also Dianic witches too.
Okay.
Which, instead of just like Wicca, there are also Dianic witches.
Right. Which that makes sense. Although I prefer a more equal balance because I am not opposed to men being witches or men being in my coven or, meeting up with other men witches. I don't.
Yeah, I feel like maybe in that aspect, they don't really deter from men, but they're more of like the feminists of like women, like just women. But also I feel like a man can also be feminist. So I feel like men could also, true. Yes, I feel like that's men true. Could also be a part of this.
Okay. I don't have anything on that one.
Okay. So the next I have is elemental, and this one is really exciting.
Yes.
So when calling yourself an elemental witch or elementalist. I don't know why. I just love that. You are, in a sense, working with 4 elements. The 4 elements, the earth, fire, water, and air. Or the 5 elements, which have the addition of spirit.
Spirit. Yeah, I was going to say there's 5 elements. Okay, go ahead.
Elemental witches will dedicate different areas of their altars to each element, like the specific element, call upon them during all spells and rituals, and often use symbols to represent the elements.
They aren't individual? When I read elemental, I assumed you were either an earth witch or a fire witch or an air witch or a water witch.
Don't get too ahead of yourself.
Okay.
You can also choose to honor one specific element, such as water witch, etc. Yes. Right before I said that sentence.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's great. I love questions. Do you have anything on elemental?
No, other than they do associate with the elements. And of the elements, which one do you think you are more associated with?
I feel like I'm more associated with water.
Interesting.
I love fire. And I love feeling the air, and I love feeling the earth, but I feel more, and it doesn't make sense because I'm scared of the ocean.
Yeah.
But when I think of water, I think of like the calming rivers and the calming like lakes, but also I love the chaos of the ocean. I just don't want to go in it. I love the chaos and I'll feed off of it, but I don't want to go in it.
I feel like I am fire. I love fire. I love everything about fire. In fact, I play World of Warcraft, which I introduced you to.
Yes.
And I play a fire mage. I love the element of fire. And water. I'm also afraid of water. I almost drowned when I was little baby. I fell face forward in the water and I was too little to be able to get out of it. So I am not a fan of the water. I do love the sound of the ocean and that kind of thing. But an air, I think I'm a Libra, which I believe is an air sign.
Yeah, I'm a Libra too, and it is air.
Oh, I didn't remember you were a Libra.
Yeah, I'm a Libra.
We're sisters in more ways than one.
Yes.
But so air maybe, but fire for sure for me.
I definitely resonate with all of them. I love fire. I love air. I feel like I'm more of like the elemental. Like I draw from all of them.
You are so into nature. I feel like earth would be a big part for you.
Earth is a really big part. I know I've probably already said this, but I could literally just not even have a tent. I could literally just go outside and I could be one with the earth. Like I could
go outside on the deck with a bottle of wine.
No. I could literally barefoot. I don't like shoes. Barefoot, go out into a forest, see a river, dip in the river. I mean, I'm just like I'm a hippie. So
you are a hippie,
but I'm not like
a born in the wrong era.
Yeah, hippie has such a bad connotation to it, though. I'm not a dirty hippie. I'm a clean, sophisticated hippie that just loves being outside.
You're a free spirit.
I'm a free soul, but I identify more towards hippie and like bohemian style than anything else.
And her style is 70s too. It's so weird to me.
I love the 70s colors, everything.
I don't really like any of the things that have gone before, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. And there is just nothing. I look back on all of those times and go, what were they thinking style wise? I don't
know. I feel like my past life that I had was in the 70s and it got cut too short or something.
Maybe.
And I'm reliving it.
You vibe those colors, that whole aesthetic. I'm just chaotic. I don't know. I don't vibe with any particular time.
Yeah.
Except for maybe ancient.
Oh, history. Don't even get me started on like ancient Egypt, like Egyptians.
It's not even Egypt for me, but I can see you.
Mine is Egypt. I could feel like a connection to ancient Egypt. I feel a connection to the 70s, and I also feel a connection to Scotland.
Oh, I definitely feel Scotland. And I think there's Irish something in my background because I can feel that as well.
But yeah. Okay. Now that we've derailed a little bit.
Yes.
Yes.
What's next?
The eclectic witch.
Okay.
So my personal preference, I would say I really like it. I wouldn't say maybe I should take out personal preference, but I really enjoy this one. Witches or Wiccan who don't follow a certain religion practice, which I definitely don't. They may choose to follow more than a single like tradition if they like. They often utilize different paths, cultures, traditions, which I definitely do. And the eclectic witches pick and choose their path to create and personalize like a form of witchcraft for them that meets their individual needs and abilities.
Yes.
I really resonate with this one because I don't have a specific religion. I believe in I believe in spiritualism.
Yes.
And so Buddhas and all that, really, I love those. I love the history behind it. I love how they figured it out. I love the idea of reincarnation. So I just have a little bit of everything.
Which makes you eclectic, I think. I also am eclectic, which is a much better term than mutt. I think I'll go with this one.
Yes.
I have that it is applied to witchcraft traditions that do not fit into any specific category.
Yeah.
They're a blend of the magical beliefs and practices from a whole bunch of different areas. There are plenty of non-Wiccan eclectic witches out there. You don't have to be Wiccan, which if you remember, we talked last week or the week before about how witch isn't necessarily religious, but Wicca is religious.
Yes.
And so I am not Wicca, although I agree with some of their principles, which I'll talk about later. But I think eclectic is probably what I would have to go with, and it is much better than mutt. So yeah, it's basically someone who resonates with different parts of different things and gathers them to themselves for their own personal form of witchcraft.
Yeah, that's at least in my journey. As I was growing up, my grandma always pushed a certain religion on us children, my sisters included. And growing up, I just realized that's not what I want. I really don't want that. So as I grew older, I've come to understand that there's more to it than just one religion. And it made me really think, like, what the heck is religion? What does it mean? Why is it there? So as I've grown up and in school and out of school, I've learned about different religions and I've learned about their origins and what resonated with me or what didn't resonate with me, which is fine, but it's just not my vibe, as I say. So as I've experienced, I've come to know what I truly am. And so I think my experience.
That's all that you can ask for, is to be shaped by your experiences. I was lucky in that my parents didn't force any kind of religion down my throat. Their whole goal was to instill in me the principles of treating other people the way you want to be treated.
Yes.
So they didn't try to force anything down my throat about, their God or gods or whatever they're God, honestly. Let's be real. That's what they were. But they didn't force that on me, and they didn't judge me for my path. So yeah, that's interesting. What do you have next?
So I have the Garden Witch as well as the Gardenarian Wicca. So I'm going to talk about the Garden Witch and then go straight into the Gardenarian Witch.
I put the Gardenarian went with the Alexandrian Witch on mine.
Oh, really? Okay. Gardening can be a meditative practice, as I have found, and it also helps you get in touch with the cycles of the earth, which I love. And then the kitchen, green, hedge, and earth witches or Wiccans often follow an earth-based spirituality in their practice. And then let me just hop right into the Gardenarian Wicca. You can only become a Gardenarian witch by initiation. When
Wow. Y'all, this is what happens when she drinks. So there you go.
Oh no, Gerald Gardner found Wicca in the 1950s, which you've already stated. He set the wheels turning for countless other Wiccan traditions to form, and many of today's Wiccan covens are traced back to the origins to Gardnerian or Alexandrian, but the Gardnerian's path itself remains it's like
Through
you
initiation.
have to. Yes, thank you so much.
I've been drinking too, so it won't be long before we're going to just be total gibberish.
I've had a couple sips. I haven't had much.
My glass is almost gone. We're going to have to put on elevator music while I go refill in a little bit.
Okay. Are you ready for the next one?
Yes.
So the next one I have is Green Witch, and it is a very popular path.
I have a whole bunch on Green Witch.
Okay, great. So Green Witches, similar to cottage, kitchen, and earth witches, use the earth, plants, trees, rocks, crystals, herbs, flowers, and all forms of natural magic. Green Witches are often skilled herbalists and may enjoy gardening and wield crafting as part of their practice. Some Green Witches also work with elements such as the Fae.
Okay, so Sky Alexander, whose book that I've got, has a whole big old section on Green Witches. She says they are the original, quote, tree huggers.
Yeah, I feel like I vibe with that.
I think so. They walk the path of naturalist, herbalist, wise woman, and healer. The earth is her primer. The natural world is her classroom. She has a strong environmental awareness. They are once again becoming, I hate to say popular because I don't feel like we should be a trend, but Green Witches are again emerging as guardians of nature and humanity's relationship with the planet. Mm-hmm. The Green Witch uses nature's gifts to improve the well-being of the physical body, the spirit and soul, and the environment. Like you said, they use herbs. Herbs is a big part of what a Green Witch works with. But they honor all things, all Earth's inhabitants, rocks, plants, animals. They do use herbs and crystals in their spell casting. They communicate with between the natural world and the human one, which I can see that.
Yeah.
These days, you're more likely to find a Green Witch living in the middle of the city or suburbs, and her garden is likely to be small, maybe just containers on the porch like I have.
Like me.
Yeah, like you have. Or a kitchen window greenhouse, which I've got little plants
I
in
have
my
that too.
Window. Do you?
Yes.
And, but she might work in an office or sales or service industry. She's often a teacher. Today's Green Witch understands that she can't restore nature's balance by isolating herself in the wild, because back in the olden days, a Green Witch was generally, picture in the sci-fi fantasy movies where you got this old witch in a hut on the outskirts of town that people would come to her for healing and that kind of thing. Nowadays, you would more likely find them right in the midst of it because there's so much healing that needs to be done.
Yeah.
What makes a Green Witch is her relationship with the world around her, her ethics, and her affinity with nature. Mm-hmm. The Green Witch's power comes from participating in the miracle that is life and from attuning herself to the energies of the environment around her. So I found that to be very interesting.
Yeah, I like that.
Me too.
Yeah.
I just don't know that I'm a Green Witch.
Fully?
Yeah, I do. I'll go walking in a park and I do feel an affinity with the trees. I always have to stop and touch the trees. I feel their magic. I feel their energy. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that I am a Green Witch.
Yeah.
What do you have next?
I have Hedge Witch.
I have that next too.
Then I'll just say a little bit about it and I'll let you explain more because I only have a little bit. Hedge Witch, also known as an astral witch or shaman, or I can't pronounce this word. Seidh. She
sounds Irish. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
She?
Maybe she, maybe you don't pronounce I'm just throwing it out there. I cannot pronounce it. I cannot pronounce it.
Okay.
A hedge witch focuses on spiritual work, astral travel, or or projection, lucid dreaming, spirit work, healing, and out of body experiences, and as well as like so that like out of body experiences include like all the practices and the path.
That's interesting.
I
That's
also
a little bit different than what I've come up with. Go ahead.
I also have the word I can't pronounce, the SEIDH. I'm just going to spell it for you. Involves communication with the spirit by a group of people using an ocular.
Okay.
And then the shamanism refers to the medicine practices of the tribes in Siberia and has been used in reference to the medicine people of Asia and the Americas. Shamanic. Oh no. Shaman witches are often known as the walkers between the worlds.
Now, that I do have, but I have shamanism as something totally separate from hedge witches.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, hedge witches I've got as being very closely related to kitchen witches. They are someone who is home-based. They are a free-form spiritual being. They can't be clearly defined. So again, kind of like the eclectic witch, except for they're home-based. They are self-dedicated. They're rarely publicly initiated into the field. They're more likely to learn from their grandma, which apparently you didn't from your grandma, but
indeed,
you learned different things from your grandma. Hearth and home occupy a central place in their spiritual and magical work, which that's the kitchen witch to me.
Oh.
The hedge witch's home is her temple and her sanctuary, which she tends in order to keep energy flowing smoothly and freely, which I relate to that. I also am a homebody. I mean, I'm an extrovert, and I do like to be out there with the people and feel that energy, especially in a city. I must tell you, there are energies in the city that can boost your power.
I do not like being in the city. I do not feed off of the.
Really?
It makes me feel gross, and it makes me feel overwhelmed. I really don't like. It's very high frequency energy, and I do not like it.
Empaths have a hard time with a lot of people, but there's also a heightened excitement that you can feed off of. That's a weird way to put that, but I can feel that energy, and you do use the energies around you to manifest your power.
Yeah. The cities aren't for me. It's not like I want a barn out in the middle of nowhere, because I don't want a barn, but I would like a cute little like cottage type house, maybe 15 minutes, 10 minutes away from anybody. It doesn't have to be too far. I like my own space. I don't want to feel everybody else's energies. I just get tired.
I can see you being a garden green witch combination. Mm-hmm. Are you drinking your champagne with a straw?
Yeah, because I would have to move my microphone out of the way and bump it, and I've already gotten it all situated. So
that was just weird. Okay, but shamanism, it says one of the earliest depictions of a shaman was found in France. So I was very curious by what you said. Oh. It said it was found in France in a cave of Les Trois Frères, the three brothers, estimated to be at least 15,000 years old. The painting shows a man disguised as a bison and armed with a bow.
Interesting.
Oh, but originally, the term shaman referred to a Siberian medical man. There you go. A medicine man. Okay. Interesting. And walking between worlds is also referred to shaman, and astral projection also to shaman.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which I don't have all of that. What else do you have next?
The next one I have is hereditary witch. And that is known as an ancestral line or born into witch. You can only be a hereditary witch if you are born into a family where the members practice witchcraft and have passed down the practices. Wow. And have passed the practices down from generation to generation. Of course, if you're born into such a family, you still have the freedom of choice of practice in any path that you want. And you can only become a hereditary witch if you consciously accept the practice. No one can force it on you.
Right. That's interesting. Obviously, I don't think that no one taught me in my family line anything. So I am not a hereditary witch, but my children might be, because they know that I call myself a witch, and they know that I practice these things. So if any of my kids grow up and decide that they want to be witches, then I guess I would, then we start the hereditary witch branch. They would be the hereditary witch.
Yeah. I don't know about my mom. My mom is spiritual as well. But we haven't really talked much about it until recently. So I'm curious to see how that develops, as well as like when I have children, how they will be.
Well, and we got to consider our husbands too, and what they're willing to have us pass on to our children.
Yeah. So kitchen witches are in the kitchen. Magic that is worked specifically through kitchen crafts, such as herbal mixtures. Yes. Baking, brewing, cooking, and it honors the natural world by including the herbs and spices and the elements. They will often craft potions, teas, and get pretty creative with the cake and ale of a ritual. And I can say I vibe with kitchen witches a little bit, because I love the herbs. I love baking. Baking doesn't love me, but I love baking, and I do enjoy crafting teas and,
I do too. I am not a baker either. I don't have that talent, but I am a great cook.
I don't either.
I cook very well, and I do love, and it's so sad, because someone will ask me, we'll have something at work and they'll ask me, oh, what's the recipe? And I cringe every time they ask me that, because I don't cook with recipes. And it's until it looks right.
I can say I do the same thing. It's kind of like you cook with your heart. And so you throw in whatever you want, and I can make I just made the best chili, actually. And my husband goes, we ate it all. My husband goes, let's have it again tomorrow. I was like, fine. It was really good, but it didn't taste the same because I don't measure. And so
and your heart wasn't the same the next day.
Yeah.
It's different.
It's day and day. Yeah. So that's how I feel about that. I feel maybe a little bit a kitchen witch, but that's not like the majority of me. I feel like I'm just like a whole bunch of witches put together.
I have a lot of kitchen witch in me, I think, because food is always how I was raised to celebrate. All of the traditions, from Thanksgiving to Christmas to whatever, have always been celebrated with food. And so a lot of love does go into my cooking.
Yes.
Especially during those celebrations. So I do resonate with the kitchen witch.
Yeah.
What's next?
Next, I have the lunar or moon witch.
I know nothing about the moon witch. Tell me.
I am sorry. It's very short.
Oh, okay.
It's also called the Astro Witch, which I also feel like I vibe with this because I am a freak about space. I love it. So these are witches or Wiccans who follow the lunar cycles and work with the astrological movements, and it's often a blend of astrology and witchcraft.
Oh, interesting.
But I would say mine is more of a blend of astronomy and witchcraft.
Okay.
Because I actually studied astronomy for a good part of my college career, and I just love this stuff very much. And you can talk to me about astrology. I'll be there with the conversation. I know what's going on, but I'm not so sure how much of it I believe in.
Well, I think that we need to do some episodes on those, because I don't know enough about them to say yes, no. I know nothing.
I know a bit. So
I
definitely
do feel an affinity with the moon. There is something about nighttime.
Yes.
That speaks to me.
It's just the power of the moon. You look at the moon. I don't know. When I look at the moon, I feel something, like energies. I feel like I resonate with whatever cycle it is in. If it's a full moon, I'm very energetic. I'm all over the place, just as everybody else is. You know, it must be a full moon if we're going on. Everybody's like that, and they don't even know. So I feel power from the moon.
I do too. I really do. There's something to it. I promise.
So I only have one more on my list, and that is the Sea Witch.
Interesting. I saw that, but I don't have anything on that.
Okay. So a type of witch or Wiccan derived from the oceanic world. Sea or ocean magic can be worked by using seashells, seaweed, beach sand, driftwood, ocean water, and a sea witch might draw their energy from the sea itself. Sea witches may also choose to incorporate moon lore, the moving tides, and even weather magic.
I can see that because the moon totally affects the ocean.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's all you've got on that?
That is all I have on the Sea Witch.
I think there are going to be a lot of listeners out there who do feel something for the ocean. There's a lot of people who
I definitely do. But I feel more like a stronger pull to more things besides.
I enjoy the ocean, and I do love the ocean, but I'm not drawn to it as a power source.
Yeah.
I'm more moon oriented. Now, what's really interesting is I took a whole bunch of these quizzes that I was telling you, and 99% of them said I was a storm witch.
Oh, a storm witch.
Yes, that you get your power from the storms. And I think everybody who has stood outside on a deck or a front porch when a storm is coming in, you feel, and there's a scientific reason for that. There is a charge in the air. But I believe that is magic in and of itself that you can tap into. So maybe this storm witch thing is a thing. I don't know. But I do find thunderstorms and powerful weather patterns to be very charging to me. They do charge me. So storm witch, which also is interesting because lightning is fire, and I do feel an affinity with fire as well.
Yeah.
You're looking at your glass. No. Do you need more wine?
No, I just realized that the straw I'm drinking out of has weird particles in it.
Well, I'm not drinking out of a straw, so
but I'm just a little disgusted. Yeah.
All right. So the words Wicca and witch comes from the Anglo-Saxon term Wicca, which is WICCE, meaning to blend or shape.
Oh.
Isn't that fascinating? It goes all the way back to the early Celts. Its roots also dig deeply into prehistoric times and the ancient fertility goddesses worshipped by the Paleolithic people, which I found very fascinating. So that's where it comes from. So where does this horrible connotation come from where everybody is like, thou dost not tolerate a witch to live?
That will have to be a whole episode in itself.
Yeah, because we don't have to call ourselves witches. We're spiritual beings. We are able to tap into something, but if the term witch is going to get us killed, then maybe we should call ourselves something else. I don't know.
It's interesting.
Yeah. The thing about Wiccans is that is the religion, and they're pretty flexible. This says they have no sacred texts and no laws except for one, which is do no harm. Which I agree with that.
I agree with that. And that is actually something I was going to suggest for next week's episode.
Okay.
Because the rules or no rules, karma, like consequences, I find it very interesting because there are witches, people out there that don't believe in the rules, that don't follow the Wicca rules, and they don't believe in karma or that it'll come back to them.
The threefold law, whatever.
Yeah, and so that's something I could just talk about all the time.
Well, we should talk about it. We should do that unless our listeners come up with some better topic for us to talk about. We're open.
Yeah, I just want to say, just remember that this list of witches that we talked about wasn't complete at all.
Oh, definitely.
Nowhere close. But it's an excellent start for you to decide which path and which path is right for you, or even if you want to be in one of those. like
Yeah, you don't have
labels
to.
or
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, well, I think that's it, guys. You guys can check us out on our social medias at C3 Witchy Podcast or check out our website, c3witchypodcast.com. There you will find our websites and links to our social medias as well as our link to our Patreon.
Oh, yes. Don't forget the Patreon. We could really use your support. If you're finding any of this helpful or entertaining or anything, then please consider going and checking out our Patreon. We have already got some things there that are for patrons only, and we will continue to do that kind of thing. So thank you all for your support.
Yes. Oh, also, let us know if y'all would like a bonus episode each month where we talk about supernatural things in general, or just us chatting about theories and spiraling down the rabbit hole, as we always do. We have our own experiences with the supernatural and with magic, so we would have so much fun sharing those things, especially in a bonus episode each month. And that could be the beginning of the month or the end of the month. So please just let us know if that's something that y'all would like. And
Definitely. Yeah, that would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll only do it if you all want us to. So you've got to let us know. Somebody's got to step up and say, I want that.
Yes, of course. Anybody. Husbands. Anybody.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much.